He has 7 #1 New York Times bestsellers, including Tuesdays with Morrie, and Mitch Albom is joining us now on KJ Today. Welcome to the KJ Today show, and congratulations. The Little Liar has been out as of today, a week. I've got to ask you, I think anytime anyone put so much love and energy and time into a project of any sort, that when it's out into the world, you have this, I hope they like it. So how are you feeling now that The Little Liar is out and people are loving it?
Well, it's a relief, that's for sure. And, I'm especially moved by the fact that people understand that it's a story for our time now. I've seen a lot of comments like that, and people who have said this is a really important book to read now, and I'm glad about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, being, set and dealing with, Nazi Germany and all of that. How long ago did you have the idea for Nico and Fanny and this story? And did it just so happen that the release happened at a time where it became so meaningful?
Yeah, I can't take credit for the timing of it. I started writing it 2 years ago, and I didn't know the events of today would be what they were. But I've actually had the idea for about 10 years. I wanted to write a book about truth and lying. I think this is something that's in our lives every single day, and the price that we pay for the lies that we tell. And I wanted to show an extreme example of that. And so I created a story about an 11-year-old boy, sort of inspired by true events, because this stuff actually did happen. An 11-year-old boy during World War II who has never told a lie in his life. He's known in his village as the most honest kid. And when the Nazis invade, they find out about him and they kidnap him and trick him by saying, listen, we'll let you go back to your family. All you have to do is stand on these train tracks and tell people that the trains are going to good jobs and new homes and everything will be fine. And then after a couple of weeks, we'll let you go back to your family. So he does this thinking that, he's telling the truth. And then on the last day, on the last train, he sees his family being shoved inside one of these boxcars and finds out that they're actually all being sent off to concentration camps. And he isn't allowed to go. And it follows him from that point forward for the next 40 years, the effects on him, the effects on his brother who gets sent away to the camp, the effects on a little girl who loves him, who also gets sent away, and the Nazi who pulled this little trick off. And it shows how they interweave with one another, and the effects of this one lie on all of their lives, how it changes all their lives forever, and how Nico does everything he can to be forgiven and to try to find hope again in his life, and how his brother is angry at him for all these years, and how the girl, Fanny, wants to forgive him and find him and tell him. So, I think if the reader asks himself, what's the biggest lie you ever told in your life, and what would you do to be forgiven for that lie? That's kind of the premise of the book.
Well, and I think over the years, Mitch, you just, book after book, you get us, thinking those kind of questions. And as I've been reading it, I'll tell you, I've got, for those of you who maybe haven't picked up the book yet, the story is being told. Truth is the narrator. And Mitch, I'm in my everyday life, like thinking, what would Truth think of me right now?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
It's such an interesting concept. So was that always in, sort of in your head that like truth is going to tell this story?
Well, I thought that would be the best way to tell a story about the evil effects of lying and the harm that we do, would be to have truth say, look at what you're doing to me. Look at how you're breaking me apart. And it really worked well. It turns out to be a really good narrator, and Truth even tells the story, a parable about how when God decided to create man, he got all the angels together before to ask if it was a good idea. And the angel of mercy said, yes, let man be created because he will do merciful things. And the angel of righteousness said, yes, let man be created because he'll do righteous things. And all the angels said it was a great idea, except the angel of truth, who says, don't let man be created because he will be false and tell lies. And what does God decide to do? He takes truth and casts him out of heaven and smashes him down into earth. And Many people have different interpretations of why God did that, but in my view, in the book, he does it so that truth smashes into billions of pieces, and each one finds its way into a human heart. And inside that human heart, it either lives or it dies. And truth, so the narrator kind of explains, this is what happened to me. I'm inside all of you now. And like you just said, what would truth think of me? Well, that's your conscience talking. And we all have a conscience. And so truth is really sort of the conscience of the book, the same way that we all have a conscience inside our own heads.
Well, Mitch, I was watching you when you were on the Today Show, and you made Hoda cry, and I'm over here like, I'm not going to cry while I'm talking to Mitch Albom, but you have that way. Is for you, when you're writing a book like this that does have so much emotion, and my goodness, like, I mean, the truthful tale of what was happening to these Jewish communities. There's moments where it's just cringeworthy, and I'm crying. Are you feeling that yourself as you're writing?
You have to. I don't think you can write something that moves somebody if it doesn't move you. I may not burst into tears when I'm writing, but I feel the emotion of the characters I'm creating or the sentences that I'm writing, or else I'm not doing a very good job. And there are times when I get kind of choked up, and when I hear other people's stories, particularly in a book like this, which has a lot of historical, truisms to it, I get choked up myself. And I just feel if you can reach people that way, if you can make them stop and, think. There's a scene that I created, for example, that was based on other people's stories, but I created it originally about in the concentration camp when Nico's family, the boy who I told you about, is all gathered together, and they're being tortured and starved and everything. But at the end of the day, the grandfather insists, and when they're inside their barracks, that they have to quietly, whisper one good thing that happened that day. And how can you come up with one good thing that happens to you when you're a prisoner in a concentration camp? But one of them says, well, I had an extra spoonful of soup. One of them says, my rotted tooth fell out. And one of them says, the guard who beats me every day was off today. I didn't get beaten. And one says, I saw a bird. And the desire to have that hope, no matter what, that hope that's inside human beings, that's what keeps us going. When I sat and I wrote that, I was crying myself, like these poor people, and yet admiring them at the same time, like that they had enough hope to try to get through the next day by just focusing on one good thing that happened that day. So, yeah, if you're not moved by that when you're writing it, you shouldn't be writing it. And I may not be Hoda because she does tend to cry. As soon as she sees me, it's kind of weird. I sit down and she starts tearing up. I go, okay, you're really going to give me a complex now. But, there is emotion in it.
Well, thank you so much, Mitch. I wish we had more time together, but it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you about The Little Liar. And I think, as many of us who are fans of your work, we're so grateful at this time in our lives to have such a meaningful story and to explore that idea of truth and how much we need to protect it. So thank you for allowing us to have these conversations and bringing us another fantastic story.
Thank you for your time. It's nice talking to you.
Thanks for joining us for another celebrity interview. Of course, the KJ Today Show isn't just about talking to celebs. It's about hanging out with you. Join us live on Wednesday nights for pop culture, people to know, and pets. The KJ Today Show on YouTube. Subscribe and watch live Wednesday nights at 7.